Alright, so here's just some of the plants that I'm just growing indoors this fall here. Maybe if I keep them alive throughout the winter, I can put them out in the spring and see how well that works. So kind of like a super early seed starting. But one of the things that I'd like to kind of talk about with indoor gardening is disease prevention. And just kind of, once diseases and funguses kind of just take over, there's really not a lot you can do, unfortunately, as far as reversing the damage. All you can really do is just prevent new damage. And I'm going to show you how I do that coming up. I'm going to save the best for last on this one. But first thing that you definitely should be doing is using neem oil. This is not just disease prevention, fungus prevention. It's also mainly insects. It's got a chemical in there called azatractin, which, although it will not kill insects when you just spray it on them, it will essentially inhibit their ability to breed, and it will inhibit their ability to eat and reproduce, and it will essentially slowly make them go away. And it will also prevent new infestations. So neem oil is definitely a must. Definitely. When you do get neem oil, make sure you get one that says cold pressed neem oil on the back. I'm going to leave a link in the description about this stuff, which is what I like. There's also a couple others like Einstein oil you could use, but make sure whatever you use, it does say cold pressed neem oil. Because there is another form of extraction that does not fully get the azatractin out, and you don't get all the pest control benefits that you normally would, as well as utilizing that oil for prevention of diseases. Next up is just the Wettable sulfur. This is a really, really good standard, just good old fungus prevention. You can get a bag of this for probably anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks. You just add a teaspoon to a spray bottle of water. Spray your plants down with it maybe once a week. You should never have an issue, especially when using this and this together. You should not have issues with disease or insects if you're using both of these, period. I just don't see it happening. So this is definitely good to use. Another product I'd like to mention, but I can't say I've got a ton of experience, is this Plant Doctor from Organicide. It's just mono and dipotassium salts. Again, I have it. I'd like to kind of just talk about it a little bit, even though my experience with it is honestly pretty limited. I guess you could probably try it if you're running into a circumstance where maybe the sulfur's not working as well. Maybe you kind of want to try something different. This might be kind of a different option, but I can't really say it's a good or bad product. Now, as far as my number one defense against garden diseases, Botanicare Revitalize Biofungicide. This is your standard. It's actually a bacteria, is what it is. And it will chase away permethrium. It's really good for seedlings. It's really good for just all-around prevention. It's completely organic. It's no chemicals. It is a bacteria. Now, there is one thing that I do with it to really turn it up a notch, and I brew it. So I get a bucket of water, and I put an aquarium heater in there, and I brew it. And that in turn kicks up all that bacteria and grows it out and colonizes it. And I'm going to show you how I do that next. All right, this is my tea brewer. What that is just a pump in there. I've got essentially a garden sprinkler fitting that allows me to add this air line to the bottom of that inlet of that pump. Comes up that tube there with this piece of PVC pipe. These are just angled. I don't have any of this cemented or anything. Don't cement it if you do make one of these. Drill holes in there and it creates a vortex. And then if you look, I just have a simple aquarium here and there, and that just raises the water temperature. So I just take this. All right, let me put you back on the tripod here, and I'll add the Revitalize. And as you can see here, I'm just adding maybe, half a teaspoon. I'm just kind of dripping it in. Rinse it off. I might add another half a tablespoon for a full tablespoon. So, I'm going to let that brew for, I'd say 24 hours. Just with that aquarium heater, that circulation, and I've also got the air pump on. And essentially that's just going to cause that bacteria to just grow and grow and grow until you spray it on the plants after it's been brewing like this. It's just already very colonized. You've got way more bacteria than you started with if you threw it in the bucket like this. So I'm in a spray bottle. I've actually added two things. I've added some mosquito bits. They contain a bacteria that controls fungus ants as well. I suppose you could put them in the brewer and it would probably brew up that bacteria even more so, but I didn't really think of that when I set that brewer up. I've also added a little tiny bit of this yucca, and what this does is it prevents the water from beating up, and therefore it keeps the water from just kind of running off the leaves. But number one rule about spraying plants down with anything, whether it be fertilizer, pest control of any kind, neem oil, whatever it is, just water, you always want to unplug it. Unplug the light. Okay, so now the lights are unplugged because what will happen is those water droplets will act like a magnifying glass and it will burn the leaves. So definitely make sure you unplug it before spraying it with anything, whether it's just typical fuller feeding, typical whatever you spray, just even water. So just spray them down. Definitely get up in there. Undersides of the leaves is important too. Probably more so than the top. Just soak them down. Wet the soil. So yeah, this is just the simple just biofungicide here. that I'm just spraying down. Just soak them down real good. So, yeah, I would definitely wait. A good couple hours, let everything dry out real good. And also spray down the tray real good. That way it's just kind of everything's very inoculated with the biofungicide. Let that sit and dry. Oh, one other thing. You could also feed it some silica supplements. That will actually help with just making the plant stronger. It actually makes it harder for the fungus to get its feeding tube. I'll have to put it in there what it's called, but I forget what it's called. Down in there, and it makes it a lot harder for funguses and disease to actually get started on the plant. So definitely a silica supplement is a really good preventative. Preventative number 2, and I'm going to use it in conjunction with this, is just your standard Wettable sulfur. So today I'm doing both Wettable sulfur and the biofungicide. Because sulfur is highly toxic to fungus in a variety of ways. But oh, these spray bottles are terrible. Believe it or not, I actually like this brand. These Harbor Freight ones. So, I'm just going to hit them up with sulfur. Reasonably. And to kind of seal it all in, I'm going to just do the old neem oil because that has fungal and antifungal properties as well as the azadirachtin and everything else. Definitely. See, notice how I'm kind of holding it up a little bit like this? When I'm doing that is I'm getting the undersides of the leaves. Because guess what? If you look at underside here, there's tons of areas where when you just spray it, it's not going to be able to like get up in there. And there's going to be tons of places where funguses and disease could hide. So you've really got to kind of just get it everywhere. And I just knocked over a cup. And I just hit the light, but I didn't break a bulb. And maybe one more quick dose of biofungicide. So yeah, I would say just after that, I'm going to turn my fan on here, kind of air them out a little bit on low, but definitely leave the lights off for a good while. Make sure everything's completely dry, because all the water droplets will just end up acting as a magnifying glass and it will just burn the plant leaves. And I've torched tons of stuff doing that. So definitely unplug your lights, turn off your lights, and that's all I have for you.